Hi there, I'm Jazz, your blind occupational therapist. Welcome to the Insight channel, your user's guide to living life with vision loss. In this video today, I'm going to give you tips on how you can organize your refrigerator and your freezer to make it easy to find what you want and to avoid spoiled foods. So let's get started. Refrigerators have certainly evolved over the years. They now have almost as many bells and whistles as microwaves, but no matter how fancy your fridge is, they all still have one thing in common. They are just big boxes with stuff in it that you have to sort through to find what you want. If you can't see to read labels or to identify food containers, there are actually a lot of strategies that can help you. Here are a few to get started. Tip number one, if you categorize areas within your fridge and freezer, it tells you exactly where to start looking when you're looking for something. It makes it quicker. For example, my top shelf to the right is condiments. To the left are things that I use for lunch. Second shelf on the right are things that I use for baking, and so on. We have drawers, of course, for your fruits, which are separate from the drawer for your veggies. And in my fridge, because I have a French door style, I have a nice big drawer here that I have for meats and cheeses. Now, use a similar technique in your freezer. Mine is a drawer that pulls out, and so I've got two shelves. So on my top shelf, I have things that are all related to breakfast. On the second drawer that pulls out, I have things that I can throw into the air fryer or into the oven for lunch. And on the bottom, it's segmented down the middle. On the left are meats, and on the right are veggies. Tip number two. Use baskets or bins to group smaller things within the fridge and freezer to make it easier to find and keep them from getting all mixed in and lost. For example, I have the top here to a shoe box where I have all of my individual yogurts. I have a little takeout plastic container that I use here to throw in small things like little condiments for salad dressings. I've got tuna fish and other little things that I've collected that I want to keep cold in the fridge, but I don't want them to get lost. Now in the freezer, I actually put shoe boxes to work again. On my top shelf, I have one where I keep all of my frozen seasoning packs because I use this a lot in my cooking, so they have a special spot. Down in the bottom, I do the same thing. We use a lot of corn, so I have a box here specific for frozen corn. And on the meat side, I keep my meats separated by using shoe boxes. Tip number three, use tactual markers to distinguish between containers that feel the same. For example, salad dressing is a great example of this. They're both the same brand, so they're going to be in the same bottle. But this one in my right hand is my favorite. This is honey mustard. And so I have it marked with a rubber band because if these two dressings are on the table, I want to be able to tell which one is mine, right? So the same thing can happen with my almond milk. It is in a container that is identical to orange juice, so I have a rubber band around it with a weigh tag. So when I feel that rubber band, I know that it's my milk, not the juice. Tip number four, designate a specific spot in the fridge for things that are unique to you. For example, you may have noticed that I keep my salad dressing that I use the most in a different spot from the other salad dressing. These shelves on the left door of my fridge have all of the things that I use the most. So I've got special jams here, my salad dressing, of course, a cheese blend that I prefer. So they're always right where I need them when I want them. Tip number five, always organize by purchase date. That means you want to put the newer stuff behind the older stuff, so the old stuff's what you grab first when you need it. For example, I have orange juice here. This one's half empty, the new one's right behind it. It works great for produce. I've got lettuce up here. And this is the older one up front, so that's what I'm going to grab when it's time to make a salad. Now this technique works perfect for meat because in the freezer we tend to stockpile things. So in this box I've got ground meat. The newest stuff is here in the back. So when it's time to cook, I am going to grab from the front. Tip number 6 is to label food products that are either going to spoil quickly or they're going to sit in the fridge or freezer for a while, and you need to be able to track how old they are. For example, I have Russian dressing here that I only use when I make one particular sweet and sour dish. So in order for me to know how old it is, I put a post-it note on the back in handwriting when it expires. I know you're wondering, how are you going to read handwriting, Jazz, if you're blind? I have an app on my smartphone called the Seeing AI app, and it reads handwriting if it's printed. Check it out.
Channel. Take picture. Button. Take picture. Processing. Expires June 2022.
Pretty cool. Another option for labeling food items would be to use weigh tags with the weigh around system. For example, I have weigh tag stickers right here on my Tupperware. So when I open up my weigh around app and hit read, all I have to do is touch the top of the phone to the sticker.
Stir-fry shrimp.
So it tells me what's in it, but I've also put additional information on this tag.
Prepared on May 5th, 2021. List start.
The great thing about these weigh tags is that they are safe for the refrigerator, the freezer, and they can even go through the dishwasher. Tip number 7 is to put all of your senses to work before you use a food item you take out of the fridge. Does it smell right? Does it feel right? And does it taste right? Because food does change. Just like when you're cooking, there's a difference between raw food and cooked food with your smell, taste, and touch, right? It's the same thing as food gets older and starts to spoil. It's a noticeable difference. And if something doesn't seem right, get rid of it. It's not worth it. Tip number 8 is to keep your refrigerator and your freezer cleaned on a regular basis. For example, when you look at my fridge right now, that doesn't look like an average fridge, right? It's because I clean it regularly. A good rule of thumb would be to take the first weekend of every month and clean it out. That's a surefire way to get rid of old food and to keep your organizational system in place. Tip number 9, as you're cleaning your fridge, if you find something that you can't identify, you're not sure how old it is, and when you smell it, you're really not sure if it's still good or not, go ahead and toss it. You should only keep things in your fridge if you know that they're not spoiled. The key to success with all of this is for you to be involved in the process and to have a plan for maintenance. So you can do it yourself or get your family or your roommate to help you create a system. If you get those people involved, it'll help them to understand the system and why it's so important to you, and it'll help them to remember where everything goes, because that's super important. They have to have buy-in, they have to be involved in keeping it maintained. Another tip for maintaining this type of system is for you to put the groceries away yourself. That way you can make sure they go in the right spot and you can tag them appropriately as they go in. Now, if you don't have sighted help when you're putting them away, you always have the Alexa Show, the Seeing AI app, or Ira on your smartphone to help you. So now you have insight into how this works. There are many different strategies you can use to identify foods and avoid spoilage in your refrigerator or freezer. There are endless possibilities when it comes to adaptation, and I'm sure that some of you viewers have some creative ideas of your own. I would love it if you would share it with the rest of us in the comments section down below this video. Thanks for watching. Click the thumbs up to tell me you like this video. Be sure to subscribe to be notified for future videos, and send me your ideas, your questions, or your comments. I'd love to hear from you. My job is to give you the tips, tools, and techniques for living your best life with vision loss. So no worries, you got this. See you next time.